Today, we're diving deep into the story of a financial giant, Cholamandalam Investment and Finance, and how they're trying to steer through some pretty rough economic waters. We're going to break down their latest earnings call to really understand their playbook for weathering this storm.
So this is the big question, right? When a company of this size hits a major storm, what's their game plan? Their next move could have ripple effects across the whole market. So let's get into it.
Now, how do we know all this? Well, we're going straight to the source, the company's earnings call. Think of it like a public health checkup. The top execs get on the line and tell everyone, investors, analysts, us, exactly what's going on, the good and the bad. It's really the clearest window we have into their strategy. All right, first things first, the diagnosis. And just like any checkup, the initial report from Chola's first quarter is, well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. There are some seriously strong vital signs, but there are also a few things that make you go, Okay, let's start with the really good news. The company's total assets under management, or AUM, shot up by a super healthy 23% compared to last year. Now, this number basically tells us how much money they're managing in loans, and seeing it grow that fast is exactly what you want to see.
But here's the twist. This wasn't happening in some booming, rosy economy. Nope. They pulled off this impressive growth while the market was actually slowing down, with all sorts of trade worries and global uncertainty in the air. So, how'd they do it?
This right here tells such a powerful story. While the entire vehicle industry actually shrank by 5%, Chola managed to grow its vehicle loan business by 7%. This means they're not just surviving, they're actively grabbing a bigger piece of the pie from their competitors.
And yet, here it is, the heart of the problem. Even with that amazing performance in vehicle loans, the company's total growth in new loans for the quarter was completely flat, 0. So while they're outsmarting the competition in one key area, the wider economic slowdown is still hitting them, and it's hitting them hard. This is the real tension in their story.
And that brings us right to the core of the problem, these powerful economic headwinds that are slowing things down and putting a ton of stress on their existing loans.
Now, to really get this, we need to talk about something called Stage 3 assets. It sounds like jargon, but it's simple. It's just the industry's term for bad loans. Loans where people have just stopped paying for a while. If this number goes up, it's a huge red flag that customers are really starting to struggle.
And you can see that happening right here. In just 3 months, from March to June, the percentage of these bad loans went up from 2.81% to 3.16%. Now, that might not sound like a massive jump, but for a company managing trillions of rupees, believe me, it signals a significant and worrying rise in financial pressure.
So what's the deal? Why are more people suddenly finding it hard to pay back their loans? Well, on the earnings call, the leadership was actually very direct about the reasons.
They pointed to a handful of key issues. First, an early monsoon season literally stopped commercial vehicles in their tracks, which hurt the income of truckers. Then you have slower factory production, which means less work for everyone. Add in some bureaucratic headaches slowing down home loans, and top it all off with that big cloud of global economic uncertainty. It's a perfect storm.
Okay, so that's the diagnosis and what's causing it. Now for the most important part, the treatment plan. What is Chola's management actually doing about all this? Well, they laid out a really clear 3-part strategy.
So what's in the playbook? It breaks down into 3 big moves. 1, push hard to gain market share while your rivals are pulling back. 2, diversify your income by launching brand new businesses. And 3, tighten the belt inside the company, control costs, and get out of partnerships that aren't working.
This quote from the CEO, Ravindra Kundu, just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that first part of their strategy. It's aggressive. It's counterintuitive. Instead of hiding during a storm, they see it as the absolute best time to go on the attack and grow.
And to deliver on that second part of the plan, diversification. They are making a huge bet on gold loans. This isn't some tiny little pilot program. They opened 73 new branches just for this in a single quarter. That's how you build a whole new revenue stream from scratch, fast.
And this final quote from the CEO, man, this one really sums up their internal focus. Even while they're pushing to grow on the outside, the message inside the company is crystal clear. The number one job this year is collections. It's all about making sure the money they've already loaned out actually comes back. So, we have the diagnosis and the treatment plan. But what's the prognosis? What does the future hold? Well, as you can probably guess, the road ahead is definitely uncertain. But there are some glimmers of hope on the horizon.
Management is banking on a few key things to help them out.
If the monsoon season ends on time, that should give the rural economy a big boost. Then you've got the festive seasons coming up in India, which always drives a ton of spending. All this should help farm incomes bounce back, and, this is critical, they're really confident that their own collection teams are strong enough to handle the pressure.
But this table really lays out the challenge in front of them. I mean, look, they're on track for overall asset growth, which is great. But they are way behind on growing new loans. They're at 0 right now, and the goal is 10%. At the same time, their credit costs, the cash they have to set aside for those bad loans, is way higher than their target. They have a serious hill to climb in the next few quarters.
And that brings us to the final critical question. Cholamandalam is making a really bold bet here. They're using an economic downturn as a launchpad for growth, all while tightening their belts internally. With some potential good news on the horizon like the monsoon and festivals, the next few months will show us if this high-stakes gamble pays off or if the storm is just too strong to outmaneuver.